Hello, Joe 508. Another outrageous discussion section about exercise and lifestyle. It was really, really well done. Heads up to Lisa and April Haryung for leading the discussion. All of you guys have done a really good job in terms of leading the discussion, and I appreciate it every step of the way. I thought there was a lot of good exchange of ideas and information. Obviously, I think most of us, since we're knowledgeable about health and health practicing, we're on the side of natural ways through diet and exercise of maintaining optimal performance, and I think it was very clear where we all stood with respect to the pharmaceutical industry. And like I said, I think history books will look back on our era, and they'll call us the era of pharmaceuticals, the pharmaceutical discovery time in terms of human history. And so we're really still kind of in our infancy in that, and that's why so many mistakes are being made. Okay, so now we're going to go on to cardiovascular disease. No more, this is exactly how it's supposed to be in terms of aging now. These are all the problems associated with genetic predisposition and lifestyle choices. So nurture and nature, okay, genetics and environment. And more and more health practitioners like you guys are beginning to refer to cardiovascular disease, stroke, and all the underlying factors that contribute to that as metabolic syndrome. In metabolic syndrome, you're looking at a spectrum of problems that you can pick up on blood tests. Things like high blood glucose because you're a diabetic. You have insulin receptor insensitivity. You have hyperlipidemia. You have elevated triglycerides and cholesterol. And then to go along with it, you have an imbalance in terms of your LDL, which is your lousy low density lipoprotein, or your HDL, which is your happy high density lipoprotein. Okay, and both of those guys basically in terms of triggering the atheroma, the atherosclerosis, it has to do with the inflammatory response. Okay, so they trigger this massive activation, inappropriate activation of the immune system. So you'll pick that up on the blood test as well. So you'll see super high C-reactive protein in these people. And then because the vascular system is being compromised, okay, you're starting to see stenosis, where the blood vessel is doing this with the atheroma, and to the point that you get complete closure. Okay, so basically you're going to form a cork. Okay, boom. Okay, and that is a blood clot. Okay, it's part of the hemostasis process. Okay, that is called an infarct. And if my blood's coming in this way, it can't get through, so everything on this side of it will die off. Okay, and this happens to any tissue that receives blood. Okay, so but mostly the big blood vessels. Okay, the big blood vessels are the targets. Okay, so this is why you see strokes in the carotid arteries and you see heart attacks with the coronary arteries. Okay, you can have warning signs. Okay, transient ischemia. Okay, well you'll have heart pain or you'll have transient ischemia attacks that look like miniature strokes. We'll put you on a blood thinner at that point in time, okay, and blood pressure medication, okay. Coumadin or warfarin is the most common blood thinner, but there's a whole host of other blood thinners that are used out there. Okay, so a person has an infarct, okay, then they have 3 hours basically to have treatment in the hospital with this anti-clotting agent. It's a clot buster actually. It activates your natural enzymatic system to digest thrombin, which is the clot, and this is called tissue plasminogen activator. So again, the window is roughly about the first 3 hours. Okay, if you survive that, they're most likely going to go in and do surgical manipulation to get rid of the underlying problem in the blood vessels. You'll have an angioplasty. You can have a stent put in. Worst case scenario, you have a bypass surgery. You're always going to want to use drugs first because it's least invasive. Okay, but sometimes you have to go to higher levels of risk and do surgical procedures. Okay, you guys should know all the blood chemistry for your clients. Okay, you should know what's good, you should know what's bad, you should know what their drugs are and why they're taking them. Okay, testing. Okay, as you're advising your client, there are different types of tests. You can have an electrocardiogram along with a stress test, looking for arrhythmias, abnormal heartbeat. You want to look at the heart, you can do the ultrasound, which is an echocardiogram. Okay, non-invasive, wonderful, get really good functional reading of how the heart is moving and whether or not there's changes in terms of the thickness of the wall and things like that. And then if you suspect there's a problem, you'll do nuclear imaging. You're going to do contrast medium, hit them with iodine, that way the x-rays do not go through the iodine, it's fully absorbed the iodine. You get this unbelievable readout of all the coronary arteries. Okay, and if it's in the brain, of course, all of the cerebral arteries. Okay, last thing, when the arteries are not working, you get ischemia, the heart slowly begins to die off, and when the heart dies off, the pump becomes weak, and you get what's called congestive heart failure. Okay, the blood congests in all the blood vessels because the pump has now been weakened, and it gets worse and worse and worse. It's a progressive disease, and people usually end up dying from it. And the symptom is a shortness of breath, because what happens is as the blood is slow, it's like the freeway is not moving. Okay, you have bumper to bumper traffic, so as the blood congests through the lungs, it leaches out the water. It's like a sponge, and it sucks the water into the lungs, and now the lungs no longer have air surface, they have water surface, so the oxygen can't get through, and you feel like you're drowning basically all the time. To remedy that, you can alter the diet in terms of sodium intake, and the most important thing is you can take Lasix, which is a diuretic, the most common drug. Okay, and you're just going to pee out the fluids, and then it's like a sponge to suck the fluid right out of the lungs, put it back into the blood vessels. Okay, alrighty, so a lot to discuss, and I like the way we're even this week's questions is personalizing everything. Okay, that's perfect. You want to personalize it, and so talk about your own experience as a health practitioner and your clients, your family, yourself. Alrighty, guys, let's have a good time. Bye.